Never be a slave to the clock when it comes to traffic and driving. Don't do ridiculous things, zigzag between the cars if you have to be somewhere. Before you leave, just tell them, hey, I'll see you when I get there. If you had to be somewhere 1 p.m. and if someone's whinging, if you were there at 10 past, come on, whatever it is. In Switzerland, for example, if you are 2 minutes late 3 times in a row, you get fired. And I'm thinking, really? Is that how we should treat each other? What about if I couldn't make it,
Yeah.
The issue with people who show up with their private cars who don't appear to be familiar with standards.
Right, okay.
It's very stressful time for the assessors. You had only one tiny mistake.
Tiny error,
yeah. It's very refreshing and obviously, less stressful for the assessors to take somebody for a test who knows what they're doing,
Of course,
rather than someone who can't literally navigate their way out of the car park, and it happens a lot. It happens a lot,
Just not ready at all.
At all. When someone can't really sort of, coordinate the steering with their movement.
Yeah, right.
And it's so obvious that, somebody like that can't really even get out of the car park, and they put themselves in a position where they have to teach, in the test.
Okay.
And they shouldn't really be talking at all. So let's turn left on Reid Highway.
Yeah, no butters.
You have a very responsible attitude when you're driving, which is what I said to you on your first lesson, mate. Just keep it up. Indicate right, a mirror, blind spot. That's about it. Often people, after they pass their test, they just neglect these important things, checking blind spots.
Bad habits.
And basically looking up and down the car park when they're reverse parking and stuff like that. It is important. So these merges indicate, but don't blind spot yet. When you get to the last arrow, check the mirror and don't diverge, okay? So look over your shoulder now and stay parallel with the left solid white line.
Okay, yeah.
Now, it's important not to be too slow. Often people slow down thinking, what about that one or what about that one? And the worst, mistake, which you haven't done, by the way, just talking so other people who watch the video can draw some good conclusions out of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes people look and keep an eye, for example, on that car, like for 5-6 seconds, and your car's going forward at 90 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So blind spot is half a second in the busier traffic.
Yes.
It's important to keep similar buffer space between the cars at the back and front as well. Back to the left lane, indicate left and mirror, look over your shoulder, that's it. Straight up, watch that object there, whatever that is. Even soft looking objects, it might be a nail in it, or something. What do you think? It's still, if I could word it that way, the weakest link, mate? Is there anything that still sort of, not scares you, but that you believe there's a bit of a room for improvement?
Not much. It's just dealing with traffic, to be honest with you. When it gets busier times and stuff like that, really.
Exiting and entering maybe freeways, highways.
Freeways and highways, of course. That's it, really, for now, anyway.
Persist with indicators if you want to change.
With indicators? Yeah.
If you are preparing for the exit.
Right.
Do your best not to reduce your speed unless it's necessary, unless there's somebody in front of you that's too close.
Right, okay. Yep.
If it's a clear way in front of you, slowing down will always make it more difficult. Now, on this merge, we're not supposed to indicate, but you check, and see if someone's potentially struggling to merge. And sadly, a lot of people, struggle merging. Often I see people almost stopping to merge, and that is going to make it far worse than anything else. If somebody stops to merge, it's commonly known that there are people from, overseas who bring licenses that they acquired, in a black market, or even some countries issue driver's licenses, but they don't have good infrastructure to test people out on the roads, because roads are, just watch your speed now, 80 from here. Okay, so 2 signs side by side always represent the new speed limit. Okay, so if it's only one, just on one side, it's just a reminder.
Right, okay.
2 signs side by side, it's always an update, okay?
Yeah.
It's so easy to lose license. As a P plater, you only have 4 demerit points to lose.
Right, okay.
And on a public holiday, if you're doing 11 Ks above, that would be, I'm not entirely sure, I can check.
Yep.
I'll put in the description of the video, but I believe you would lose 6 all up because it would be 3 points,
right, okay.
double 6, so you can lose license. There are these new safety cameras. Have you seen the new safety cameras?
I don't think I've
The big
seen
chunky double ones, I believe we passed one just earlier.
Right.
They can count your eyelashes. That's how good they are. So even improper, seatbelt wearing will attract $550 fine and 4 demerit points.
Right.
I know that one because a student of mine whose girlfriend actually got that fine. She was wearing the seatbelt under her armpit. She didn't have any evidence that she was exempted from wearing a seatbelt, and unfortunately had to pay for it. So they're very precise, really high definition cameras, and there are hundreds of them, and they pop up every now and then in new locations as well, Let's go over to the right lane, indicate right, mirror, look over your shoulder, follow up, check, beautiful, straight ahead. Now, the only places where you would avoid changing lanes in the middle of the intersection where, where the unbroken solid line starts, you shouldn't cross it, other than the emergencies, really, in an emergency. Do you know what to do in an emergency? Like if there's a cops or ambulance behind you, what do you do?
Yeah, you just let them have the right way. Just pull in.
To merge left, if possible. Okay. Back to the left, practice indicate left and mirror blind spot. That's it, follow up, check. Okay. 90 from here, new speed limit, end of Roadworks here. This is a classic merge. Let's indicate left. Mirror, keep up, look over your shoulder, because there was no arrows and both lanes had the same priority in this scenario. All of the merges used to be like this. These ones used to be everywhere, prepare to stop signs with, flickering amber lights. Tell me about your car buying experience, mate.
It was good. I brought a mate with me, he knows more about cars now, so I didn't know much. So I needed someone that I trusted, all right. It's going well so far, no problems. Just a tyre needed change in there the first week I got it. Yeah. Apart from that, it was all good.
Mileage does not represent the condition of the car. Slow down a bit, 70 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, the mileage doesn't, all right.
It doesn't, because look, I'd rather buy a car of somebody who drove from Perth to Mandurah every day than somebody who just drove to the shops 300 metres from their house and back, because constant temperature changes to the engine and its parts is something that, would kill the engine sooner than long distances.
Yeah.
See, that's one of the cameras up there, and that's the speed cameras down here.
Right,
so quite a few of them, and they can see what you're doing in the car. Slow down here, 60. They've got the 60 sign there, but then they have 40 and then 70.
Yeah.
Check that out. Fixed speed cameras will not be recalibrated for the temporary roadworks. See, it says 100 here, but then they put the 100 end of roadworks up there. Do you use Google Maps?
I use the iPhone maps now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, okay. So as long as it's fixed to the dashboard or the window, that's fine to use it.
Yeah.
And just use logic, mate. If it's telling you to make a U-turn where you can't make a U-turn, don't do it,
Fair enough.
And when you're going on Freeway, Highway, there's one thing that you have to ensure. Can you guess what that is, mate? Let me give you a clue. Say there's a bushfire and all of a sudden they stop the traffic and nothing's moving. I got stuck back in 2012 or 13, I'm not sure. Literally on Tonkin Highway, I got stuck literally 2.5 hours. And I didn't have an idea what was happening, I just had to wait.
Yeah.
So can you guess now what you should make sure of, mate?
Check the news.
No, not that. Because you're already there.
Yeah.
News aren't going to help you. What should you have plenty of if you potentially get stuck for 2.5 hours on a freeway?
Plenty of water.
Well, that's one thing. What's water for the car?
Fuel as well.
Plenty of fuel, mate. So never go on, on empty on a freeway, even if it's only a short distance, because there are no service stations on freeways.
Right.
So in Europe there are quite a, every sort of 50, 60 Ks. Now let's go to the right lane so we can avoid merging with that one. Yeah, that's also a good thing, Why would you sort of slow down? You can just change if there was on there rather than, getting stuck behind somebody who's potentially changing lanes slow, or, merging slowly.
Yeah.
So let's go, we'll exit on Tonkin Highway North. So that's obviously south. Armadale would be south, So as long as you enter added lane as soon as it starts, there's no need to check the blind spot. Not yet. Wait for the last arrow. Leave indicator on. Now look over your shoulder. That's it, man. That's it. Okay. Let's see, Reid Highway, Welshpool, exit 1 kilometre. Yeah. So we'll avoid that exit. Have you come down here since you passed your test, Anthony?
No, I haven't came
down here. Okay. It's very simple. See, the left one goes back to south, so towards Freeway, and heading towards Morley Strait.
Yeah.
T3, T4, those are domestic terminals.
Yeah.
T1 and T2 are international terminals. Now let's try to change to the right lane, indicate right and mirror, look over your shoulder, nicely over, that's it, mate. Back to the left for practice, indicate and mirror, look over your shoulder. Is he letting you? He knows what you're doing. But he increased the speed. Go to the left lane, indicate left, mirror, blind spot. Yep, that one doesn't have the lights. Now, do you know when to put headlights on? When you're driving within metropolitan area.
I don't know what's the actual rules about it though, to be honest.
Okay, well it's good that I asked then. Okay, so in the metropolitan area, you should put headlights on when the first street lights come on.
Okay.
That's a good indication, because obviously sun sets a lot earlier in the winter time and a lot later in summertime. Try not to change lanes on the bend, because even taking your eyes half a second away from your trajectory can result in a bit of a choppy movement. And at speeds like these, it's really important to track your path very accurately, there's no substitute for that, for sure. See, this one's merging with us, so it's best to push a little bit. Okay, it's merged. Okay, so be aware, even though you have the priority here, but sometimes you might even need to slow down,
Okay. Yeah.
It's just it's common courtesy, But remember what we did earlier, we changed over to the far right just to avoid dealing with them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, driving on freeways, it is the most threatening environment for modern human beings, mate. There's thousands of cars around you. The wrong flick of the wrist can, cause a disaster. And that's part of the reason they say, don't be a slave to the clock. In our society, obviously, you got to be right on time. Mate, if you can't make it, just tell them before you left. It was a relatively fast process for you since you decided to take proper steps to get your license, wasn't it?
Yes.
Please don't forget that it's scientifically proven beyond doubt that blind spots are real. They are not formality. It's not something that we only do in driving tests. I never miss it, mate.
Yeah.
Because if you've got the luxury of the rear door glass, it takes half a second, mate,
Yeah.
It definitely doesn't hurt, and it can surely save your life, mate.